is awareness without judgment. And that without judgment part is really key. It's about slowing down and paying attention to what is. Not how what is different than what you expected, not how it's different than what you had hoped for, simply what is. And I think many of us are familiar with mindfulness from the standpoint of a more formal practice, something like yoga or meditation. But mindfulness can really help you to tune in and be present no matter what you're doing, whether you are hanging out with a friend, whether you're cleaning your house, or even eating. So for me, mindful eating is really a really important part of this whole nutrition and eating stuff, because we eat like 3 to 6 times a day. And so if you can tap into mindfulness in the eating act, you have the opportunity to make eating into something transformative. You know, there are very few other opportunities in your day that you come back to again and again and again, and tapping into mindfulness within that eating act can be a really incredible thing, not only to help you make better choices for your health, but also to help you derive more pleasure from the act of eating. And I think this is really important because so many of us in this wellness space, we spend so much energy and attention thinking about how to nourish our bodies properly, that it can be easy to forget that, hey, eating should be fun. Eating should and can be pleasurable. And mindfulness really helps us tap into that. So I'm going to cover 4 pillars of mindful eating tonight. But one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that mindful eating is not some tick box that all of a sudden you can just achieve. Wanting to be a more mindful eater is an intention that you will carry throughout your life. And so sometimes you'll do better at it, sometimes not as great. But having that intention towards mindfulness and mindful eating will help you become a healthier, happier eater throughout the course of your life. So what's one way that mindful eating can really help? The first is in making better choices. So if our intention is to be healthier, then we can think about eating more whole plant foods, for example, more nutrient-dense foods. If we want to have more energy, if we want to stabilize our blood sugars, we can think about how we compose a meal. We want to have healthy plant proteins. We want to have healthy, nutrient-dense, slow-burn carbohydrates, some great fats, and that blend of macronutrients will help us sustain our energy levels and feel really good and energized all day long. So I thought to demonstrate this, we kind of use a smoothie to show you. And so I've got a really simple, easy smoothie here with just a few ingredients. So we have some peaches. These are my healthy, nutrient-dense carbohydrates. They add natural sugar, so they taste delicious. We have some baby spinach. The baby spinach is incredibly nutrient dense. It's really high in minerals, calcium, iron, and readily available and absorbable forms of those, as opposed to some of the denser greens. We're also using the Botanica Perfect protein. So this is an awesome rice-based protein. It's a little easier on digestion than some of the other plant-based proteins. I'm a gut health gal, so I pay attention to these things. We're also going to add some healthy fats in the form of coconut oil. And then a little bit of calcium for the bones. We're using some vanilla unsweetened cashew milk. So it's really easy to see how all of these components go together for a healthful meal. But what about actually deriving more pleasure from the meal? So many of us, because life is so crazy these days, we tend to eat while we're doing something else. So scrolling our feeds, finishing our work assignment before the deadline, or watching TV. And if we do that every once in a while, it's not actually a big deal. The key is if this is our everyday, we're probably not even paying attention to the fact that we are eating. We probably don't even really consciously notice that we're eating when we do. And when that happens, we're usually deriving less pleasure from the eating act itself. And we're also way more likely to eat more than we need in order to satisfy our hunger. So really tapping in to eating something in that moment. And for many of us who work in an office, one of the best examples I can ever give of this is most offices, if you go into the kitchen, always have like a ton of food. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm in here just for a glass of water and I'll pick something up. But instead of mindlessly, picking up that boxed cookie and just kind of like mowing it down on the way back to your desk, think about what you really truly crave. Perhaps there is this piece of cake from a bakery that you love, and you're sitting at your desk that afternoon going, you know what, I would really love to eat that. Make that conscious choice. After work, go pick it up, sit and enjoy it at home, and really be mindful. Don't do it in front of the television. Put it on a plate. Sit at the table, really engage yourself in that act of eating. Because if we are going to enjoy an indulgence, we want to get as much pleasure from it as humanly possible. And, the concept of pleasure is a really interesting one, because a lot of us have a lot of ideas of the right way to eat. This is good, this is bad, this is wrong, or this is right. That's when it's really important to tap back into mindfulness and just be aware. The whole goal of mindful eating is not to only eat the right thing or not to only eat for the right reasons. But the idea with mindful eating is that when you are consciously choosing to eat, that is always the right decision at the time. The other thing that I want to talk to you about is the act of eating itself. So we talked a little bit about freeing yourself from distraction. But the other thing that I'm really passionate about when it comes to healthy eating is cooking, and cooking more at home. You might not know this, but just the anticipation of eating starts the digestive process within the body, which is one of the reasons why cooking is so powerful. Because you're actively engaged in preparing the food, your body is also actively engaged in preparing to receive that food, and you optimize digestion. And this is totally different than just like going to the coffee shop on the way to work and picking up some food and then eating it. Your body hasn't had the opportunity to say, yes, eating is going to actually occur, and I'm going to ready myself. I'm going to start those digestive secretions. We're going to optimize the entire process, and it can be a really powerful thing. And it's one of the reasons why I love smoothies so much, because most people say, well, and I know for myself, mornings are crazy. I don't have time to make this elaborate meal. I don't have time to sit down and really enjoy something that's going to take me a long time to eat. So smoothies are perfect because you can still tap into that intention to eat, even though it's something that only takes you 3 minutes to make. The other thing that you want to think about when you're eating is the act of chewing. And it seems so basic, almost like, why would it even matter? But chewing is the one time that you have the most control over the digestive process. Once you swallow, your body takes care of everything else that occurs. But most of us, because we are mindlessly eating, we're doing it while distracted, or even we're doing it in such a rush because we want to get on to the next thing, we don't actually take the time to chew properly. And so if you have any kind of gut health issues, or you find that food seems to sit heavy in your stomach, chewing might be your best friend, and you want to see if you can take the time to slow down. With a smoothie, it's actually the same thing. One of the reasons why we love them is because they're so fast. But if we consume them too quickly, we're actually placing a pretty heavy load into the stomach, and it's a lot to digest. And you probably won't feel as full and satisfied from the smoothie as you would a plated meal because of how quickly you consume it. So one of my favorite tips, if you want to optimize your digestion within the smoothie realm, is to chew your smoothie, which seems a bit crazy because there's nothing really to chew there. But as you take a sip, if you mimic the act and sensation of chewing, not only does it slow you down, but you can also enjoy the flavors of that smoothie more, and you will feel far more satisfied when you do consume it. The third pillar that I wanted to talk about is awareness. So awareness of not just what you're eating and the food choices you're making, but also the thoughts that you have about those food choices, and also the norms that lead you to make those food choices. You know, food is not just food. Food is all of the meanings behind that food. Food is our culture and our family norms and what is acceptable in our society or trending in our society even. I'm looking at you, blue smoothie bowls. So we eat for so many other reasons than the fact that we're hungry. I mean, sure, we're hungry. Sure, we need to nourish, but we eat for so many other reasons. We eat in celebration. We eat to ease pain, Sometimes we eat because we're simply bored or because we're in an environment where we always eat. I mean, try going to a movie theater and not getting a snack and see how weird that feels. So you can see how powerful these thoughts and these norms are around our food choices. And so a really interesting and sometimes very powerful practice around eating can be, before you eat, ask yourself the question, why am I eating? Just notice the answer, because there is no right answer. So don't judge what you've said. The key is to notice, oh, I'm eating because I'm starving. I just came back from a run and I'm starving. Great. I'm eating because it's a birthday celebration and we're having a party. Awesome. Just that act of taking that 30 seconds to be mindful helps you to tap in and helps you to learn more about yourself. But it can be really challenging for many of us to release our judgments and our thoughts around what those answers are. There's a really delicate balance between wanting to nourish yourself as well as you possibly can, but also recognizing that healthful choices and less healthful choices have an equal place in a healthy diet. The more nourished you are, the more resilient your body is, and the more that it can handle having a little bit of ice cream or, a big veggie burger with all the fixings, whatever it is you like. But that's a really powerful thing for many of us, and there are a lot of emotions wrapped up in that. And mindfulness can help you sit and recognize what those emotions are, and it's not necessarily a solution, but it's a step in the road to working through them. The final pillar I wanted to talk about is where your food comes from. So we thought about food choices, we've thought about mindfulness in respect to our bodies and the act of eating. And when you're feeling really good about that, you can then extend that mindfulness to the impact that your food choices have on the planet and also the people who prepare that food for you, because food is connection. Every time you eat, you are connected to all of the people who have handled that food, prepared that food, grown that food. And that's a really powerful form of connection for all of us, particularly when you're trying to be more mindful about your place on this planet. So one of the things that I like to think about is physically, where does my food come from? So I have peaches here and they're frozen, and we're not growing peaches right now, but these were actually locally grown peaches that were frozen last year, which is pretty cool. The spinach comes from California. They grow most of our produce. California and Mexico is where in Canada we get a lot of our produce. Because we live in Canada, we don't live in a place where you can grow food to feed us all 365 days a year. So eating globally is just a part of life here in Canada, but we can be really mindful about how those global choices impact people who are so far away from us. One of the things that I learned very recently, actually maybe too recently, is how coconut oil is produced. I had no idea that many plantations actually use monkey labor to harvest coconuts. And I was really disturbed and kind of shocked by this, particularly because for all of us who have a wellness mindset, we want to ease our impact on the planet, and that doesn't really sit well with me. So if you are in love with coconut products like I am, you really want to look for fair trade certified products. All of Botanica's coconut products are fair trade certified and made without the use of monkey labor, so I feel really good about using them at home. So that is our mindful eating Facebook Live. I'm so thrilled that you guys tuned in. I wanted to let you know that we really hope that you'll get involved in this conversation. So comment, share your thoughts. Have you explored mindful eating? Is this new to you? How has mindful eating helped nourish your eating habits? What has it taught you? What have you learned? What are your challenges? Go ahead and share all of those thoughts. And also, if you don't follow Botanica on Instagram, it's at Botanica Health. We would love to have you join the conversation there. And I'm going to pour this delicious smoothie. Do we have questions?
Yeah.
Awesome.
The first question is from Susie, and she's wondering if a smoothie is a good way to start the day.
Awesome. So Susie asked, is a smoothie a good way to start the day? I have to say, because I'm like all of you, trying to be as healthy as I can, and life is crazy, A smoothie is one of my favorite ways to start the day because it takes 3 minutes to prepare, and if I really need to, I can take it to the office and then sip it mindfully before I start my day there. The other thing that I like is that it's so easy to get everything you need. Most people have difficulty eating, if not fruit, definitely vegetables before noon. It's so easy just to add a whole bunch of vegetables to a smoothie. You can get your protein, you can get your healthy fats. If you like any adaptogens, you can throw them in, and then it's all there in one delicious drink, as opposed to having to remember to do like 5 different things in the morning. So I love smoothies.
We had a request to elaborate a little bit more on chewing your smoothie.
Oh, okay. So a request to elaborate more on chewing the smoothie. I'll take the risk and I will show you what that looks like. If I have green stuff in my teeth afterwards, you have to forgive me. So when you take a sip, literally chew a few times as if it were oatmeal or anything else, and then swallow. So it feels a little bit weird because you're like, I feel like there's nothing actually to chew here, and you're probably getting the sensation telling you to swallow. Just give it 3 or 4 times a sip and then swallow. It will slow you down. It will slow down the rate that smoothie enters your stomach, and you'll probably get to enjoy it and taste it a little bit more than if you just gulp it down.
We also had a question. Do you recommend fiber in your smoothie?
Great question. Do I recommend fiber in the smoothie? It depends on your needs. So I'm a massive fan of psyllium because I'm a gut health girl. So I use a lot of soluble fibers. So I love ground psyllium, I love chia seeds, I love ground flax, but it depends on what you're already putting in your smoothie. If you're using greens and a bunch of berries, those are very fiber-rich fruits and vegetables as it is. But if you know that you don't quite get all the fiber you wish you could, then it's great to have some sort of seed or extra fiber that you put in there. Bonus points if you've got a little soluble fiber because it's really good for your stomach. And then it's a really easy way to get it in if you put it in the smoothie.
What is an adaptogen you mentioned earlier?
Yes, what is an adaptogen? Adaptogens, as a mother and an entrepreneur, are one of my favorite things because they help your body do exactly that, adapt to stress. They all are a little bit different. So we have things like ginseng, rhodiola, ashwagandha, maca. They all have slightly different effects on the body, work better for different people. I know that for me, the 2 adaptogens that I really love are rhodiola and ashwagandha. So when I'm feeling really low energy and like I need a little bit of a lift, I tend to reach for rhodiola because it does that for me. Most of the time I use ashwagandha because I tend to get very excited and very passionate about everything that I do, and life is hectic. And so I find that ashwagandha, it has a bit of a cooling effect on me and a grounding effect on me that really helps me not to feel frazzled. They're all foods that you take in small amounts. They are safe for adults, not for kids, and they're really easy to incorporate into your life, whether you take them as a tincture or take them as a pill or take them as a powder that can go in your smoothie.
We have a question asking if your smoothie is vegan.
Yes, so I am a plant-based gal, and so everything in this smoothie, especially in including the protein, is vegan, totally plant-based.
And do you recommend that for the lifestyle?
Yeah, so my bias is always, because I am plant-based, to encourage people, even if they are not going vegan, to eat more vegan or plant-based meals. No matter how you eat, everyone would benefit, feel better, save money, help the planet by eating more plant-based meals. So if you're a really meat and potatoes person, even exploring twice a week. 2 meals per week that are totally plant-based. If you're ready to go a little more, some people love doing totally plant-based before dinner time, or they just try and eat as often as they can. For me, I've been vegetarian a long time and now plant-based for a few years. I feel healthier, I feel lighter is a weird word, but I feel just lighter, physically lighter. I also feel like in terms of mindfulness, for me, a plant-based lifestyle really helps me tap into my intentions around eating, not only for my body, but the impact that my food choices have on the planet. So for me, it's a great choice, and I encourage anyone who's interested to give it a try.
Last question. smoothie?
Can you have too many seeds in a smoothie? Technically, yes, because so many seeds like chia and ground flax, because they're soluble fiber, they form a gel. So if you put a lot of seeds in your smoothie, what you might find is that you have more of an unintentional smoothie bowl that's quite gelled as opposed to something that you can sip. I usually recommend that people put between 1 and 3 tablespoons of seeds in a smoothie with plenty of water. I'm really into light fluid smoothies these days. I used to make these concoctions that were so thick, but I add a lot of water now because it helps with my hydration and I just find them more enjoyable to sip. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope you've had a wonderful Sunday and thank you for spending this time with us. Again, any comments, concerns, be a part of the mindful eating conversation in May and join us here and on Instagram at Botanica Health.